I was sitting in my car on my break watching YouTube when I came across an Immortal Marcus video. For those of you who have not watched his content, I suggest you do so. They're great, and I'll be sure to link the one that inspired this essay in the description. This particular video got me though. By the end of it, I was checking if my doors were locked and looked in the back seat to make sure no one was hiding back there. But luckily, I was safe from the skinwalkers that act like electricians at my job. Or rather, the demons in the case of this video. See, Doors is an analog horror series I had not heard of until recently, and upon watching it, I felt reinvigorated with the fear I once felt by watching these series. It was like a breath of fresh air from all the non-scary, rather boring analog horror series. But without further ado, let's start this analysis. The video starts off with the logo for the YouTube channel High Strange TV. Go subscribe to them, they're great. I'll link their channel in this description as well. We are told to turn off the lights and put on headphones, but I'm a little rebel and have earbuds, and also it's the middle of the day at the time of writing this script, so cope and seethe, I guess. Anyways, with the sound of a beep, the video truly begins. How many doors are in your house? So, I actually got up and counted all the doors in my house. The number came out to 14, and honestly, this was pretty fun in a weird sense. I also got the opportunity to speak to my dad, to which he asked what I was doing, and when I told him I was counting the number of doors in our house because it related to an analog horror, he shook his head in disappointment and went back to work. From here, we're shown pictures of the doors in the person's house. One thing to note, by the last door, it seems like we're looking up to a basement door, insinuating that we are standing in the basement. It's not necessarily crazy or a big reveal, but it is a little odd that we are standing in the basement looking at the door rather than standing in the house looking towards the door that leads to the basement. Am I being crazy? Most likely, but hey, I just wanted to point that out. From there, we are told that we have added a door. The word door is highlighted in red, and while that is an important word in the sentence, I'd like to focus on we. By saying we, it means that there are multiple people / entities at play. I find it odd that the main characters of the story would say we have added a door. So my theory is that whoever is on the other side of this door is the person that either made the tape or is speaking to us through the tape. Also, I would like to add something. When I initially watched the series, I was not freaked out by this sentence, but rather confused. The only thing I could ask was, how can you add a door? And honestly, it added a lot of intrigue to the story, and I think it was a really good way to add interest to said story. Even if we don't realize it, seeing the sentence sets off something in our mind that basically says that sentence is not right. There's something wrong with that, which I find fascinating. But from here, we are shown the door. The door itself looks very ominous, and the low-tempo buzzing sound to go with the image doesn't quite help. Another quick thing to add was that when I saw this video for the first time, I was freaked out because I thought the door looked familiar to a door in my house. So the entire time I was watching said video, I was imagining that the door in my house being the door in the video, which is insane. Just another reason why I like this analog horror series so far. We stare at it for a very long time, the suspense building before relieving upon the black screen appearing. But then we are greeted with the text, "Do not try to find the door." Find the door? What? If you search for too long, your house may begin to look unfamiliar. This got to me. Similar to the sentence from earlier about adding a door, my mind began churning with thoughts. Then the sentence, "It is easy to become lost," appears, providing further interest in the scenario this video is showing us. Then, we are shown an image of a man standing on some stairs before the words Jonathan flash on the screen. Something I also noticed while writing this was that the door above Jonathan's head looks to be the same door from earlier that I said seemed like a basement door. I'm not sure if these are the same doors or not, but it is something to think about. The text from earlier flashes across the screen, reminding us not to look for the door. Then, like a beta male, the text reveals that Jonathan went looking for the door. Like, come on, Jonathan, really, dude? You see a strange door in your house that wasn't there before, then the door disappears and you want to try to find it? Like, bruh. We then see a picture of Jonathan flash upon the screen before returning to black. The sentence, "Jonathan did not find the door," appears before we are shown the same image, except for the fact that Jonathan seems to be covered by a black mist. But something I noticed was that the black mist was shaped differently than Jonathan was. For starters, it seems much larger, but many will say that's just because the mist is surrounding him. But also, it seems as though the entity is wearing a long coat of sorts. It's almost as if this is a different person entirely. We are told that Jonathan became lost before seeing a name, Audrey. Audrey is this girl. We see her before she turns the camera, showing us that she found the door alongside telling us she did. She takes a step towards it, the sudden sound of somebody slamming on the door before trying the handle filling our ears. We see the entity on the other end fiddling with the doorknob, but as Audrey clutches it, the being begins slamming violently against the door. But then, it strangely stops. She takes a startled step away from it, only to walk back towards the door, opening it. And what we see, or rather don't see, is strange. It's completely pitch black and silent, but as Audrey turns around in response to the door being slammed shut, we see a shadow-like figure standing before it. The shadow-like figure does a jump scare, and we are tuned to static. So, an immediate observation is that the shadow-like figure is similar in appearance to Jonathan. My theories for why will be explained later, but something I want to share that I feel people might not have noticed is that when we first see Audrey and the door, the camera has a light on it showing us the door. But upon stepping inside, it seems as though the light doesn't work. You don't see anything until Audrey turns around, revealing the shadowy figure. But then if you pay attention, the door is lit up by the flashlight, proving to the viewer that whatever is on the other side of that door doesn't allow light to appear. It's a strange but rather subtle way of instilling fear or discomfort within us. Then, the text "Audrey found the door" and "do not try to find the door" appear. Then, the most chilling sentence in this video appears. "It will find you." When I initially read this, I was spooked. As simple as it may seem, there was just something about it that really resonated with me. Then, we hear knocking before seeing the text, "It is here." It's the same image of the door from the beginning of the video, refilling us with the tension from before, but after a moment, the door begins to slowly open. There is no click of the doorknob nor a creak from the door opening. It's just silent aside from the buzzing of the video. Also, just to let the viewer know, I'm writing this script from notes I took. I'm not even watching the video at this moment, but just thinking about this scene fills me with discomfort. The door opens, revealing Audrey. Something I'd like to point out is how alarming seeing this character is. Something in our brains is telling us to leave, click off the video, or look away from her. While this could be initially blamed on the wide smile or the dark eyes, I'd like to point out her movement. She is slowly pushing the door open but standing semi-sideways. From there, her body kind of shifts out of the door rather smoothly. She lifts her left leg up as if she were stepping over something before twisting her body to fully face the camera. The entire time this moment has gone on, her left arm never moves, nor does her right, and her gaze is maintained on the viewer of the video. The reason I bring this up is because body movements and expressions are the subconscious way people interact with each other. A common example is when someone maintains eye contact with you, it lets you subconsciously know that they're listening to you. Another way is through posture. Seeing someone that's slouching shows that said person is lacking energy or is just tired. However, the way Audrey moves in this clip is human-like, but there's something off about the way she moves her body that sets our minds off immediately upon noticing it. Hell, my heart was racing as I watched her step out of the doorway and turn her body towards us. But this all falls under the uncanny valley, which I will create a video on. To put it simply though, it's a subconscious fear we as a human race have of things that seem human but aren't quite human. Take dolls or mannequins for instance. They're human-like and share human qualities, but when some people see them, they may get nervous or uncomfortable. This could also work if you have a robot talking to you in a human-like voice. The uncanniness of that event may cause discomfort in you. The video cuts out, showing us the sentence "you can try to run" before showing us Audrey getting closer to the camera. Then it cuts out, jump scaring us with a close-up of Audrey's mutilated smile. And yeah, jump scares get me easily, and I don't particularly like them for their cheap scare effect, but this jump scare really got to me. It's one of the few I actually semi-like, but this has really gotten to me. Even now, as I write this in broad daylight, I'm still looking over my shoulder just in case. But from there, the video turns to black, showing us the next text on screen. And all it says is "there are many doors." From there, the video ends, and you are left with a racing heart and a freaked out expression on your face. Honestly though, this was great. I love this video and it freaked me out. Now it's time for the analysis. Wait,
So that was Doors 1.
hold on.
There is a second one that is double the length of this one.
Oh no, dude. In all honesty, I was really excited when I heard about the second one. In fact, I like the second video more than the first. But at the same time, I think the second video is a lot scarier than the first. No matter, this video plays a lot into the analysis I have of the story so far, so let's jump right into it. Video 2 opens the same way with the HSTV logo, but this time there's a new logo. This logo is for Arco Video Diary, which I assume to be a partner of HSTV or something. I'm not entirely sure at the moment. As the logos fade away though, we hear knocking, followed by someone turning their camera on. The video shows someone walking from what looks to be their hallway into a bedroom, noticing that someone is banging on the door from inside their closet. Something I want to point out though is that the door on the left looks like the door we are familiar with. We hear banging from behind the cameraman turns their body back towards the hallway, revealing to us that the door on the left was in fact the door we are familiar with. Whoever the cameraman is, they seem to have walked through the door. Suddenly, we turn back to the closet door, realizing that it's now opened. Suddenly, a hand appears, and our cameraman begins fleeing the area. The video cuts out, and we are provided some text. My name is Sarah. My sister is Audrey. We are identical twins. First off, holy snap, when I initially saw this, my eyes widened. I was immediately invested in Sarah's story, similar to how I was invested in Audrey's story. We are provided a cute picture of the twins as text appears beside them, showing us which one is Audrey and which one is Sarah. Sarah explains that a couple weeks ago Audrey went missing before playing us the last message Audrey ever sent her. It starts out normal, but then immediately spirals out of normality. Audrey tells Sarah that she's been having dreams of the door, but recently the door has started appearing in her daily life. She tries to go towards the door, but then somehow loses track of it. Part of me finds this quite creepy. It's just eerie to me that there can be a door, or anything really, that you keep trying to interact with, but anytime you go towards it, it just kind of disappears. It's horrifying in a sense. But then there's also that part of me that thinks, silly girl loses track of the door 2 feet away from her? Bruh, that's a skill issue. I know it's supposed to be supernatural, but that was my initial thought when watching this series. So, anyways, she states that it's messing with her mind and now her house doesn't look familiar to her anymore, something that was mentioned to happen to people in the last video. There are rooms she doesn't remember and now she feels lost, but she needs to find the door. And then the message ends. She becomes obsessed with finding the door. Well, no shit. I'm just kidding. We then cut to live footage of Sarah looking into the camera. Exactly 3 weeks after Audrey's disappearance, Sarah says she got a voicemail. But given the look of distraught on her face, we can tell something isn't right. I'll go ahead and let the clip play for you to watch.
Sarah? Why aren't you answering the phone? I can't find my way out. I think I'm still in my house, but everything looks different. I have to find the door. It might be the way out. I think I'm getting closer.
So yeah, that's not Audrey. But with the obvious demonic tone in her voice that makes her sound insane aside, this voice message did actually get to me even before the voice change. There's just something uncanny about her voice, and I can't quite put my finger on it. It's an excellent job from the voice actors, so truly some great stuff. She doesn't sound right. I think she found the door. I need to find Audrey. I need to find the door. From here, Sarah says she found a book that might be able to help her, but the only place they had the book was at this big bookstore. Also, just for funsies, anytime we hear the title of the book, it gets redacted because the title is just a little too silly. She picks up the book, then says that the book showed her a way to summon the door. She then packs up her things and goes to Audrey's house. From here, we cut to a live footage video of Sarah discussing the ritual and drawing the door on the wall. Something I wanted to point out again was that the door in the background looks like the door we saw in the first video. It kind of confuses me because I wonder now if the door that leads to where Audrey and everyone has to look the same every time, or if the door itself changes. So what I mean by that is I wonder if the door will look like this sometimes and looks like this other times. Or will it always look the same way? I'm not sure. If someone in the comment knows that, feel free to tell me because I want to know. Editing Shining Panjam here. I forgot that at the end of the first video it says there are many doors, so the door is going to look different almost every time. So yeah. Anyways, time to continue with the video. But she draws the door and steps back. After a couple seconds of waiting, nothing happens, so Sarah knocks on the drawing of the door. After a moment, there's knocking from within the door and the camera starts glitching. In the chaos, we see standing in the doorway Audrey with that huge, eerie smile. So, while writing this part of the script, it was late at night and I was watching the Doors video while writing everything out. And I'm just going to write the rest of it tomorrow because Audrey's smile and just everything surrounding this horrifies me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is probably the scariest analog horror series I've ever watched, or at least up there with the stuff that scares me like Mandela Catalog or Vita Carnis. It's just anything involving mimics, honestly. But yeah, I just wanted to add this just to show the strength of these videos. But the ritual definitely worked, and upon the conclusion of the chaos, she breathes a sigh of relief from what I can see. The screen cut and text appears, Sarah saying that she reviewed the footage and saw Audrey standing at the doorway. But then she says, she looked wrong. All she can say is, her face. I mean, to be fair, if I was reviewing footage of me talking in my car and see someone watching me from somewhere, I'd be freaked out too. Especially if it looked like Audrey. Man, I can't tell you what I'd do. But to continue with the video, Sarah states that she heard her. Then, we witness this horrifying clip.
Sarah.
Audrey?
Come to the door, Sarah.
Audrey, I'm scared. I don't know if it's you.
Open the door, Sarah. I need you. Don't you want to help me, Sarah?
There's something wrong with you.
Don't you want to see me? Open the door.
She states that she didn't open the door, but still, that audio is very chilling. We know it's not Audrey, and I feel that deep down Sarah knows this as well, but possibly doesn't want to accept it, holding on to the hope that she is okay. Sarah then states that there was knocking at the front door the following night. We cut to live footage of Sarah answering the door. We see this guy at the door, and in a whispered voice, we hear him say, "Is this the door?" And when asked about his identity, he simply states, "I don't remember." After a moment, Sarah tells him he's at the wrong house before the stranger asks her to turn the lights out. She does so, and the stranger disappears. The video cuts out, and it shows text from Sarah saying, "I think he got lost while looking for the door." Then she says, I think the ritual led him to me. The next morning, I found unsettling footage on my camera. Before we move on, I will say that I agree with Sarah, but the stranger, like how I think everyone else interprets this, is Jonathan. But I think what happened with Jonathan is different than what happened with Audrey. You see, back in video 1, we see a shadowy figure attack / take possession of Audrey's body, turning her into this demonic entity we have been seeing. But with Jonathan, it seems different. We saw a black mass surrounding him, but we never saw him attack Audrey when she entered the door. Alongside this, the clothes that the stranger is wearing are the same clothes that Jonathan was wearing in the first video, or at least they are very similar. This has led me to deduce that getting lost searching for the door and finding the door cause different things to happen. When you find the door, you become possessed or corrupted by whatever the shadow person is that we saw attacking Audrey. But when you get lost searching for the door, it seems as though your spirit forgets everything about life in the world you once lived, causing your spirit to wander around aimlessly looking for the door. Since the ritual caused a door to be created, the spirit of Jonathan followed the trail that led to where the ritual took place, but could not find the door there. That's why his spirit disappeared when she turned out the lights. But who knows, I might be wrong. From here, Sarah says, I have no memory of what you were about to see, before the video cuts to live footage of what happened. To put it simply, Sarah started tweaking out and got up out of bed and stared at the corner. From there, Audrey starts appearing through the reflection of the mirror with a grin as wide as my friends' grins when they see me tweaking out before suddenly, poof, they both disappear. And so, yeah, this was kind of weird. Cutting to static, Sarah states that she woke up in bed. The next night she stayed awake and waited, and then, just as her eyes could no longer stay open, she heard Audrey. So now, from here comes the scariest part of the video, and I want to explain why in just a second, but I want everyone to watch this clip.
Audrey.
So, the reason why I wanted you all to watch this clip is because there are two things that made this part of the video terrifying. Let's start out with the Audrey aspect. Similar to the ending of the first video, we see Audrey moving in very strange, uncanny ways. It's as though she is slipping around the corners themselves, but always maintains her stare and her smile. The movements themselves are very fluid, but they miss a human quality to them that we as a society are familiar with. There's just something about it that sets our minds off. Now, this Immortal Marcus clip will help highlight the next part that makes this so scary.
Please stop turning the corners so tightly.
Due to the shakiness of the camera and the speed that Sarah is going, it adds a very frantic quality to the video, and given that jump scares are not uncommon in the analog horror genre and horror as a whole, they immediately set off alarms in our head to be ready for a jump scare, thus adding tension. Couple this with the uncanny movements of Audrey's character and you have yourself a very terrifying scene. The video continues by Sarah turning around, noticing Audrey kneeling in front of a window, corner, something. Sarah quietly approaches Audrey saying her name, and right as Sarah is about to touch her, the video cuts out. The video is static for a second before returning to the door that Sarah drew on her wall, starting the ritual. The camera sits silently on the drawn door, building the tension as we wait for something to happen. Then we hear the knocking before the footage cuts out, thus ending Doors Part 1. So, theory time. As I've said before, I believe that Jonathan started the ritual and succeeded at completing it, but never found the door, thus becoming lost and turning into the spiritual stranger we saw in Part 2. Now, I don't quite get if Audrey knows who Jonathan is, or if he's unrelated to Audrey and Sarah's characters, but if anyone knows the answer to that question, please comment it down below. But the story for our two main characters seemed to be that Audrey had started the ritual and succeeded. Unlike Jonathan, however, she found the door and opened it, becoming possessed by whatever entity lives within its borders. From there, Sarah follows a similar path in search of Audrey, creating the door that would lead Audrey to her. Then, upon reaching and touching Audrey, I believe that Sarah was either unalived by Audrey, or that Sarah became possessed just like Audrey, and that's why there was knocking at the end of the video. Now, as for why people are doing this ritual, I believe it's something to do with seeing into the souls of others, or something soul-related. The reason I believe that is because on the cover of the book in the front of the door, there is the drawing of an eye. Eyes in a spiritual context are meant to represent clairvoyance, omniscience, and or a gateway into one's soul. I'm not sure why Audrey or Jonathan would want to see into people's souls, but with my theories basing around lost or corrupted souls/spirits, it seems as though the people doing the rituals want to find something within either their souls or other people's souls. And maybe that is how the shadow entity in the first episode took control of Audrey, by seeing and then corrupting her soul/spirit. But yeah, I did my best in terms of analyzing and coming up with my theories about this series. I don't think I really covered any new ground, but I did want to watch and discuss this series because I really enjoyed it, and I kind of had my own interpretation on certain aspects of it, like the spirit thing and Jonathan and all that fun stuff. I found it quite terrifying, and honestly, I'll make an update to this video if more episodes start to release, but make sure to like and subscribe if you liked this video and want more videos like it. You can also check out my other videos discussing songs or other horror mediums through my channel. And if there's anything you think I could do better with in terms of video quality, I'd love to hear it in the comments section below. But for now, I'll see you all in the next one.